Today we are going to be learning about telling time. In learning about telling time, we have to understand the units in a clock and how to read those units and use that to determine the specific time. This video is a how-to on how to tell time, referring to the second grade Common Core standard. Before we begin talking about how to tell time, we have to look back at history and think about the different methods that were used for keeping time. The most archaic shown is the sand timer. We still see the sand timer today, but it is not used to keep general time, but short periods of time. We see them in games or in the kitchen, but they are not used to determine what time of day we are in. Now, the two most common clocks used today are the digital clock and an analog clock. The digital clock is shown below with the numbers shown, and an analog clock is a little bit harder to read as the numbers are not shown to show what time it is. We will be talking today about how to keep time. Now, to learn how to read a clock, we're actually going to use an interactive analog clock. Before we can begin actually reading the time, we have to talk about the two parts of a clock. There is the shorthand, which is the hours hand. This hand will determine what hour we are in. If it is after 12 and before 1, it is 12 o'clock. If it is after 1 and before 2, it is 1 o'clock. Whatever number it is right after is the hour that we are in. Now, within that hour, we can see it's getting closer and closer to 4. There are 5 points between it. This is more useful in thinking about the minute hand. Now, our minute hand, which is the longer hand, is used to see how many minutes have passed within each hour. So if we're looking at 4 o'clock, right now when it starts on the 12th, it is actually 0. So it is 4 o'clock, no minutes have passed as it just became 4. Now it is 4:01 when it is touching the first line. We know that each minute will pass and go along, and there are 60 minutes in an hour. So once it comes here, it is at 59. Once it touches that 60, you're at a new hour. There are 12 hours in the day, as we can see, which is why there are the numbers all the way up until 12, going up by 1. Now, for the minute hands, we can see, let's check and see how many individual lines there are in between each hour part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means that they're going up by increments of 5. So if we were at the 2, it would be 5, 10. We can use our skip counting skills to determine the minutes. If we were here, we would go 5, 10, 15. If we added another 2, we would be at 5, 10, 15, 16, 17. So this is a really great way to read an analog clock. We will have a lot more time to practice, but this is a simple how-to video to determine understanding the clock and seeing how to read the time on it. To review, the hour hand will pass once it has passed a number, that is the hour that it is in. We are currently in 2, past the 3, now we're in 3, it passed the 4, now we're in 4. Now the minutes hand will go up by 1 minute as each minute passes. Once it hits the thicker line, it has passed a 5-minute point. This makes it easier to tell time and to count more quickly. When it is at the 6 periods of 5 have passed. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. We will continue learning about how to tell time as we continue with the units. Here are our credits. Thank you to Visnos Interactive Clock, as well as StyleSat Life, which helped us see the different types of clocks that there have been throughout time.